1 in 4 Americans over 70 has peripheral neuropathy. 1 in 4. Most of them have no idea. Their feet are going numb, their balance is shifting, their hands are tingling at night, and they assume it is just aging. It is not just aging. And here is the part that should concern you. A lot of those people are making it worse without knowing. They are buying B-complex vitamins off the shelf, taking high doses every day, believing they are protecting their nerves. But a systematic review published in 2023 confirmed something most people have never been told. Vitamin B6 at high doses does not protect nerves. It destroys them. The supplement aisle has a nerve toxin sitting right next to the nerve helpers, and the label does not warn you. That is what I want to talk about today. Not a vague list of drinks that might help. A ranked, evidence-based breakdown of what actually supports nerve health, what does not, and the one common mistake that makes nerve damage worse instead of better. I am an emergency physician, and I have spent years watching people arrive with nerve damage that has been building quietly for months or years. What frustrates me most is not the damage itself. It is how often it was accelerated by something avoidable. So here is the plan. I am going to cover this in 3 tiers, ranked by the strength of the evidence. Tier 1 is the nutritional foundation, the B vitamins and where they should actually come from. Tier 2 is the anti-inflammatory tier, the drinks with real clinical data behind them. Tier 3 is the blood flow tier, the drinks that improve oxygen delivery to damaged nerves. Along the way, I will tell you the supplement mistake, explain why it happens, and give you a specific framework for what to do if you have symptoms right now. But first, a reality check. No drink repairs nerve damage overnight. I need to say that clearly because the internet is full of claims that imply otherwise. Your peripheral nerves, the ones running to your hands and feet, can regenerate. Unlike your brain and spinal cord, peripheral nerves do have the ability to regrow, but they do it slowly, about 1 millimeter a day, roughly an inch a month. If you have nerve damage running from your lower back to your toes, that is a long road. What the right drinks and nutrients can do is protect the nerve fibers you still have, reduce the inflammation that is making things worse right now, and create the biochemical environment that allows slow repair to actually happen. Think of it this way. If your nerves are a road full of potholes, these drinks are not going to repave the highway, but they can stop new potholes from forming and fill in some of the shallow ones. Over weeks and months, that changes the ride. The data backs this up. A study published in Scientific Reports using National Nihanes data and the ERA cohort found that the prevalence of peripheral neuropathy was about 10% among middle-aged Americans and roughly 27% among those over 70. Among people over 70 with diabetes, the number goes even higher, and the majority of those people were undiagnosed. Their nerves were whispering and nobody was listening. That matters because the earlier you address nerve damage, the more function you preserve. This is not a condition where you can afford to wait until the symptoms are screaming. So let me start with Tier 1, the nutritional foundation. 3 B vitamins are directly involved in how your nerves function. B1, also called thiamine, B6, pyridoxine, and B12, cobalamin. These are not optional extras. They are structural. Without them, the signals your nerves carry slow down, misfire, or stop altogether. Here is why. Your nerves are covered in a protective layer called myelin. Think of myelin like the rubber insulation around electrical wiring. It keeps the signal clean, fast, and on track. Without enough B12, the body cannot maintain that insulation properly. The signals start to leak. What you feel is tingling, numbness, pins and needles, and eventually, loss of sensation. B1 does something different. It is essential for the energy metabolism of nerve cells. If the nerve cannot produce enough energy to maintain itself, it begins to degrade. And B6 is involved in the production of neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that nerves use to communicate. So far, this sounds like an argument for taking a B-complex supplement. And that is exactly the logic millions of people follow. But here is where the story turns. A 2023 systematic review published in the journal Nutrients analyzed the full evidence base for vitamin B6 and peripheral neuropathy. The conclusion was clear. While B6 deficiency can contribute to neuropathy, excess B6 is directly neurotoxic. At doses above 100 milligrams per day, and sometimes even at lower doses taken over long periods, B6 damages the very nerve fibers it is supposed to protect. The review described a clear dose-dependent relationship. The more you take, the worse the damage. And here is the problem. Walk into any pharmacy or grocery store in America and look at the B-complex vitamins on the shelf. Many of them contain 100 milligrams of B6 per tablet. Some contain even more. The recommended daily intake of B6 for adults is 1.3 to 1.7 milligrams. 100 milligrams is roughly 60 times that amount. That gap between what the body needs and what the bottle contains is where the damage happens. People take these supplements for months or years, believing they are building nerve health. In some cases, they are steadily eroding it. And most doctors do not routinely test B6 levels, so the toxicity builds silently. If you take a B-complex supplement right now, here is what I would do. Turn the bottle around, look at the B6 content. If it is above 50 milligrams, that deserves a conversation with your doctor. If it is above 100, I would stop taking it until you have had a blood level checked. This is not complicated, and it is not expensive, but it might be the single most important thing you do for your nerve health this year. Now, where should B vitamins come from instead? Whole food sources. B1 is found in whole grains, black beans, lentils, and sunflower seeds. B6, in the small amounts the body actually needs, comes from chicken, fish, potatoes, chickpeas, and bananas. B12 is in meat, fish, eggs, dairy, and fortified cereals. But B12 deserves extra attention, especially if you are over 60. As you age, your ability to absorb B12 from food decreases. Your stomach produces less acid, and B12 absorption depends heavily on stomach acid. A 2025 cross-sectional study found that nearly 48% of people with diabetic neuropathy were deficient in B12. Almost half. And here is the catch that almost nobody talks about. Metformin, the most commonly prescribed diabetes drug in the United States, depletes B12 over time. The mechanism is well established. Metformin interferes with B12 absorption in the gut, so the medication managing your blood sugar may be quietly worsening your nerve damage by draining one of the vitamins your nerves need most. If you take metformin, ask your doctor to check your B12 level at your next appointment. If you are on Medicare, your annual wellness visit costs you nothing out of pocket, and most people never book it. That is one of the highest value, lowest friction medical decisions you can make. Use it. Ask for your B12, your fasting glucose, and your A1C. Write the numbers down. Those three values tell you more about your nerve risk than any symptom checklist. That is the foundation. Now let me move to Tier 2, the anti-inflammatory drinks. This matters because in many forms of neuropathy, inflammation is not just a symptom, it is part of the mechanism driving the damage. Inflamed tissue presses on nerve fibers. It disrupts the tiny blood vessels that supply nerves with oxygen, and it triggers chemical cascades that accelerate nerve degeneration. Reducing that inflammation does not undo what has already happened, but it can slow the process, reduce pain, and give the body a better chance at repair. Two drinks stand out here, and one of them has something most natural remedies do not: actual clinical trial evidence in humans. The first is turmeric golden milk. The active compound in turmeric is curcumin, and I want to be specific about what the evidence actually shows. In preclinical studies, curcumin has consistently demonstrated neuroprotective effects. It reduces inflammatory markers, supports nerve regeneration in animal models, and protects the structures inside nerve cells from oxidative damage. That is promising, but animal studies are not enough to make a recommendation. What moved the needle was a 2025 double-blind randomized controlled trial. This is the gold standard in medical research. In this trial, curcumin was given to patients undergoing chemotherapy with a drug called vincristine, which is notorious for causing peripheral neuropathy. In the placebo group, 70% of patients developed neuropathy. In the curcumin group, that number dropped to about 39%, nearly cut in half. That is a meaningful result, and it is one of the first clinical trials to test curcumin directly against a specific form of nerve damage in humans. Now, there is one important detail. Curcumin on its own is poorly absorbed. Your gut breaks it down before most of it reaches your bloodstream. This is why golden milk works better than a plain turmeric capsule. When you combine turmeric with black pepper, the piperine in the pepper increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. Add a source of fat, like coconut oil or whole milk, and absorption improves further, because curcumin is fat-soluble. The recipe is simple. Warm a cup of milk, stir in a teaspoon of turmeric powder, add a pinch of black pepper, and a small spoonful of coconut oil or ghee. Drink it in the evening. It has a calming effect, which also helps with sleep, and sleep is when your body does most of its nerve repair. The second anti-inflammatory drink is ginger tea. Ginger contains bioactive compounds called gingerols and shogols. These have well-documented anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. The evidence for ginger and neuropathy specifically is less robust than curcumin, but the anti-inflammatory data is solid, and there is good evidence that ginger improves peripheral blood circulation, which matters for nerve health. Fresh ginger is more effective than powdered. Slice about an inch of fresh ginger root. Steep it in hot water for 10 to 15 minutes, and drink it once or twice daily. You can add lemon, which contributes vitamin C, and its own antioxidant support, but avoid adding large amounts of sugar or honey. The goal is to reduce inflammation, not add to the metabolic burden. I know what some of you are thinking right now. Can a cup of turmeric milk or ginger tea actually make a difference for something like nerve damage? That sounds too small. Here is how I think about it. Nerve damage is not one event. It is an ongoing process. Every single day, your nerves are either getting slightly more support or slightly more stress. Inflammation is a daily force. Oxidative damage is a daily force. The nutrients your nerves receive or do not receive are a daily variable. These drinks do not perform miracles, but they shift the daily balance. Less inflammation, more raw materials, better environment for repair. Compounded over weeks and months, that shift matters more than most people realize. You are not looking for a cure in a cup. You are looking for a direction change. And small forces, applied consistently, change directions. Now let me get to tier 3, blood flow. This is the tier that most people overlook, and it matters especially if you are over 60. Your nerves depend on a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients delivered through tiny blood vessels. When circulation is impaired, the nerves at the far end of the supply chain, your toes and fingertips, are the first to suffer. Think of it like a garden hose. If the water pressure drops, the plants at the very end of the hose are the ones that wilt first. Your peripheral nerves are those plants. 3 drinks can help improve that circulation. Beetroot juice is one of the strongest natural sources of dietary nitrates. When you drink beetroot juice, your body converts those nitrates into nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes blood vessel walls and increases blood flow. This is not theoretical. The vasodilating effect of beetroot juice has been demonstrated in multiple studies, and it is significant enough that some cardiovascular researchers use it in clinical protocols. For nerve health, the implication is straightforward. More blood flow means more oxygen reaching damaged nerves. Freshly pressed beetroot juice is ideal because processing and storage reduce the nitrate content. A small glass daily is a reasonable amount. And if you already have cold feet or poor circulation in your legs, this one is worth trying first. Green tea works through a different mechanism. It is rich in catechins, particularly one called EGG, epigallocatechin gallate. These are powerful antioxidants that protect cells from oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is one of the primary ways nerve cells degrade over time, particularly in people with diabetes or prediabetes. The damage works like rust on a pipe, slowly, steadily, and invisibly until the structure weakens enough to fail. Green tea helps slow that rusting process. 2 to 3 cups a day is the amount most consistently associated with neuroprotective benefits in the research. And here is the part most people miss. You do not need expensive matcha. Regular brewed green tea delivers the catechins your nerves need. Dark cocoa, made from cacao with at least 70% cacao content, is the 3rd drink in this tier. It is rich in flavonoids, compounds that improve endothelial function, meaning they help the inner lining of your blood vessels work more efficiently. This translates into better blood flow to the brain and peripheral nervous system. The key is using real dark cocoa powder, not sweetened chocolate drinks or candy bars. Mix a tablespoon of unsweetened cocoa powder into warm water or milk. Simple, cheap. That is a legitimate, evidence-supported addition to your routine. One more drink deserves a mention before I move to the framework. Chamomile tea. It will not directly repair nerve fibers, but it does something that matters more than people give it credit for. It improves sleep. The compound responsible is apigenin, which binds to specific receptors in the brain that promote relaxation and reduce anxiety. And sleep is not just rest. Sleep is when your body performs its most intensive repair work, including nerve tissue maintenance. Poor sleep accelerates nerve degeneration. Better sleep supports it. A cup of chamomile tea before bed is one of the simplest, lowest-risk additions you can make. Now, before I give you the framework, there is one more piece of evidence I want to share. And this one is about something that is not a drink. Alpha-Lipoic acid. It is a supplement, not a beverage, but it has more clinical evidence behind it for neuropathy than almost anything else I have mentioned. A meta-analysis of 15 randomized controlled trials found that 600 milligrams of alpha-lipoic acid daily significantly reduced neuropathy symptoms, including pain, burning, and numbness. The improvement was clinically meaningful, and most people noticed a difference within 3 to 5 weeks. But here is where I want to be careful. A 2025 Cochrane review, which is the most rigorous type of evidence evaluation in medicine, looked at studies that followed patients for at least 6 months. The conclusion was that alpha-lipoic acid probably has little or no effect on nerve impairment after that time frame. So what does that mean in practice? It means alpha-lipoic acid is good at reducing symptoms, which is genuinely valuable. It may slow progression, but it is not a reversal drug. It will not regrow what is already lost. I share that because trust matters more than hype. If I told you it was a miracle supplement, I would be lying. If I told you it was useless, I would also be wrong. The honest answer is that it helps with symptoms. The evidence is solid for short to medium-term use, and 600 milligrams on an empty stomach is the studied dose. Talk to your doctor before starting, especially if you take diabetes medication, because alpha-lipoic acid can lower blood sugar. So let me bring all of this together into a framework you can actually use. If you have nerve symptoms right now, tingling, numbness, burning, pins and needles, weakness in your hands or feet, here are the layers. In order of priority. Layer 1. Find the cause. The most common causes of peripheral neuropathy in the United States are diabetes and prediabetes, B12 deficiency, alcohol use, and medication side effects. You cannot outdrink a root cause. If your blood sugar has been running high for years, no amount of turmeric milk will fix what uncontrolled glucose is doing to your nerves. Get the diagnosis right first. Everything else works better when the underlying driver is being managed. Layer 2. Stop the harm. Check your supplement cabinet. If you are taking a B complex with more than 50 milligrams of B6, that could be contributing to the problem. If you are on metformin, get your B12 checked. These are not dramatic interventions. They are quiet corrections that remove ongoing damage. Layer 3. Build the environment. This is where the drinks come in. Turmeric golden milk with black pepper for inflammation. Ginger tea for circulation and inflammation. Beetroot juice for nitric oxide and blood flow. Green tea for antioxidant protection. Dark cocoa for endothelial function. Chamomile for sleep quality and overnight repair. You do not need all of them. Pick 2 or 3 that fit your routine and stay consistent. Consistency matters far more than variety. Layer 4. Monitor. This is the step most people skip, and it is one of the most valuable things you can do. Write down your symptoms. When does the tingling happen, morning or night? After meals or after sitting for a long time? Is it getting worse, staying the same, or improving? Which foot? Which hand? Does it spread? How long does it last? That pattern is the single most useful thing you can bring to your doctor. It turns a vague complaint into a clinical map. It helps your doctor decide what to test, what to watch, and how urgently to act. A symptom diary takes 2 minutes a day and can save months of guessing. Layer 5. Know when to escalate. Not every nerve symptom is an emergency, but some require urgent attention. Here is how I think about it. If you have mild, stable tingling that comes and goes, notice it, write it down, and bring it up at your next scheduled visit. If you have persistent or worsening symptoms, call your primary care doctor and schedule an appointment. Ask for a B12, a fasting glucose, an A1C, and if they think it is appropriate, a nerve conduction study. These tests are not painful, and they give you real answers. If you need same-day attention and your doctor cannot see you, go to urgent care. It is faster and far cheaper than the emergency room for non-life-threatening issues, and they can start the workup. If you experience sudden numbness that spreads rapidly, sudden weakness in a limb, loss of balance you cannot explain, or difficulty breathing, that is an emergency. Call 911. Do not drive yourself. An ambulance is not just a ride. They start treatment on the way, and the ER sees you faster when you arrive by EMS. Those minutes can matter. I know an ER visit is expensive, and I know that is a real reason people delay. I have seen it hundreds of times. But I have also seen what happens when people wait too long, and the damage that accumulates during that wait often costs far more, in health and in money, than the visit itself would have. Being checked and told everything is fine is not wasting anyone's time. That is a good outcome. So here is the summary. If you remember 3 things from this video, remember these. 1. Your nerves need B vitamins, but from food, not from megadose supplements. High-dose B6 can cause the damage you are trying to prevent. 2. 3 tiers of drinks support nerve health. Anti-inflammatory drinks, like turmeric golden milk and ginger tea. Blood flow drinks like beetroot juice, green tea, and dark cocoa. And chamomile tea for the sleep your nerves need to repair. 3. No drink replaces finding and treating the cause. Get your B12 checked. Get your blood sugar checked. Talk to your doctor about what is driving the damage. Your nerves do not need perfection from you. They need less inflammation, better blood supply, the right vitamins in the right amounts, and someone paying attention early enough to make a difference. That is not complicated. That is not expensive. and it starts with one small step. Pick one drink from this list. Make it part of your day for the next 2 weeks. Notice what changes. That is how most people start to feel the difference. And if someone you care about deals with nerve pain or numbness, share this with them. Sometimes the most important thing is not the information itself. It is making sure it reaches the person who needs it.